Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the West University Historic Zone Advisory Board. We're doing a sort of out-of-phase meeting for January 20th, 2026. If I could do a quick roll call. Jim Glock,
Present.
Lou Spetnagel,
Present.
Greg Stoner,
Present.
and Rick McDonald present. So we have a quorum. Can I have somebody to make a motion to approve the LAR from last month?
This is Jim Glock. I'll go ahead and approve the legal action report from the month of December.
Okay. I've got a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Lou. I'll second it.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
All right. That passes 4-0. Desiree, I assume there's no call to the audience?
No, none received.
None. Okay. That gets us to item 4 on the agenda, courtesy review, 714 North Euclid Avenue. Courtesy review. So over to Mike. If you want to, I don't know if you have, I know there's at least one chart or one drawing to show.
Yeah, I was thinking I could just kind of show a map, kind of orient to the site and then the parcels, and then Mike, you can share more about your proposed project or proposed plans.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and share. So as you can see, we're here on North Euclid Avenue between above 4th and below and south of University. I'm gonna draw the area. So it's generally these parcels that we're talking about here. So there had been contributing buildings that were demolished. There had been a replacement plan for the Euclid Hotel, and Mike will explain, what the proposal is and how that kind of has evolved. But it's these 5 parcels here that are the subject of today's courtesy review. Here's the empty areas right now. There's a mix of zoning, and the parcels would need to be rezoned in order to make this one singular paid parking lot area. And then Mike, I have your parking plan up on my screen. So you can kind of let me know if you want me to show that. I also have the other documents that you sent earlier that show the different parcels.
Okay. It might be kind of going back what the idea of parking is, we had, before we fenced the lot, we had a lot of cars just parking there illegally. I heard a lot of crazy stories about just kind of bad situations going on with cars getting blocked in and that sort of thing. And then the university had repaved the alley to our north, and I believe also the 4th Street to the south. And so now we're getting dirt tracking onto their new streets and so forth. So it got us thinking, well, all right, well, let's get all the cars out there, let's screen the lot, and then the idea of doing a surface parking lot it's more of a temporary use than a final phase use for the lot. We're trying to I guess kind of recoup a little bit of money, and then with the idea that eventually if someone does want to come in and do an actual development on the site, it takes over 2 years to get something through, because with the historical review, the PRS review, the SID review, then it usually has to phase back through design reviews, and it takes a long time. The idea is that the parking could help generate revenue during that process where someone, if they did come in, they could have some income coming in while they're going through the design phase and or design approval phases. Not sure where that would be. I've got a friend that owns American Ballet. I worked for him way back when I was in college, and he's actually retiring. He partnered up with I want to say it's PRC. It's a parking company, and they do all the parking right now at the church, which is just on the other side of the parking garage. And then there's another small lot in that area where they do everything off the QR codes. So we would do, it would be professionally managed by a company whereas that's what they do, because I don't know how to manage parking myself. So we would come in with them, and we were looking at using like a recycled asphalt and trying to do it so it's something that could be reversed at some point in time, yet it creates a better environment than what's happening there right there, especially on the streetscape, adding landscaping and foliage and so forth. And we had submitted an original plan. We try to max it out. We had like 94 spaces, and we're using the alley. And now what we're using is just the entry point onto the lot that's existing. We're not doing any new curb cuts or using the alley or using 4th Street. And we reduced the amount of parking and increased the amount of landscaping. Then we did another run through this, and this is also with city feedback of all the different requirements for open space landscaping and on-site retention. And I think how many spaces? We have 70 more spaces, 74 more spaces. We have better on-site circulation. So we just got rid of more parking places. We added a lot more landscaping and a complete landscape buffer around the entire lot on all 4 sides except for the one entry point.
Hey,
I think that's-
so Mike, I'm trying to make sure I'm reading this right. So the entry and exit from the parking lot is to Euclid?
It's on Euclid, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where it was before, kind of historically. So we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to maintain that. We were actually going to add the sidewalks. It's 9.6, and then we would add a curb to the inside flush to make it a true 10 feet. And then the idea was to create as much landscaping to help shield the parking lot. And I know I don't have a landscape plan. I've shown where the bigger canopy trees would be. I would imagine that from feedback there, you would want, we prefer to do more of a native hedge type and then do sidewalls in those areas. I think it helps. I think it'll look better than you don't have like the heat island effect of those sidewalls. And then it's something that's easier in the future. It's not something that has to then be torn out. The landscaping, hopefully on Euclid, then would remain. We are working on preparing some elevation drawings of how that would look in perspectives with cars and so forth. But one of the main reasons for the courtesy review is to get, we've had city input, but we would like the neighborhood input. We like WUZEB's input, and that's a very true statement. We want to know what you guys would prefer to see, or what positive sort of criticism we can get on what we presented so far. And before just continuing paying consultants to keep redrawing something, like, we don't want to guess. We want to work with you guys with something that could fit.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's actually why when Desiree and I were talking, I said, let's do a courtesy review before you pay anybody else to draw any more stuff. So what you're going to merge, you got 5 parcels there. Your plan is to go to the zoning commissioner and merge that into one parcel?
So I've already submitted for the lot combination. So we have the 5 parcels. 3 of them are HOCR2 and 2 are HR3, which do not allow parking. The
Right.
HRC2 does allow parking. So one of the stipulations on the with the parking development plan was the rezone, and the rezone is basically what we're talking about now. So it would be a lot combination, and then everything would go to the one zone, and that does allow the parking.
Mhm.
It's still historical. We're still in Wuna.
Yeah.
So we're not looking for any exceptions there. We're trying to be as compatible as possible for what we're proposing. And again, it's not a long-term move. It's just kind of a short-term
Yeah. So
move.
the end zoning would go to the OCR zoning.
It would, yeah, on the
Yeah.
other 2 parcels,
Yeah.
which are the ones on 4th Street in Euclid, that
Okay.
front right there.
And that allows for parking. I wasn't familiar with.
It does. It's the only zoning actually that does less you go to straight parking. Um, and that was, I had coordinated with John Beal early on with this, and Jody prior to Desiree. There's one other person in that meeting, and that's what they suggested was the best path forward. As far as the space goes for what we're trying to do.
Okay. Jim, were you gonna? Yeah. Go ahead, Jim.
Just a gee whiz kind of question. The previous development, what direction was the zoning heading for it?
Basically, we were adopting the urban overlay zone, which got
Oh.
adopted once we got a building permit. And I mean, we were 2 weeks away from that. Then COVID hit, right when the major restrictions of the shutdowns of COVID hit. And then, so that lending for hospitality changed.
No.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it was kind of like a pad. I mean, an urban overlay zone. I'm sorry, I'm not a great urban planner.
So this side of, they call this the transition zone, which is basically because the university has the 4 main streets going around, and Euclid is the one on the west side. And we're on the university side of that. So it's treated a little bit different, and they call it the transition because it's the outer
Mike-
edges of the
Mike,
university.
if I could help you a little bit, just if I
Sure.
may.
Go for it.
So Jim, this particular parcel is part of the main gate overlay.
Oh, okay.
That's the overlay that they're talking about. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So they're not doing a pad, or they weren't doing a pad. They were just part of the main gate overlay. And it's still part of the main gate overlay. At some point, I don't know if the overlay, somewhere the DRB for the main gate overlay would have to get involved too. But this is that whole corridor, the transition zone, but also all of Main Gate on University is all in that overlay district.
Thanks. I guess kind of what I was scratching my head about is that those residentially zoned parcels would have had to been quote unquote rezoned, or
I don't think so. I think
what the hotel wanted. Oh, okay.
Because it was OCR2. Well, what Mike is saying is there were 2 parcels, which I didn't appreciate, that are HR3. So those would have to be done.
Hey, Desiree, if you have what I sent you earlier, it shows the parcels kind of with an overlay. It may make more sense.
We
don't actually, to be honest. Yeah, thank you for saying we don't.
Okay.
It's interesting anecdotal conversation, but
got it.
It's not something that we need to bog down today on. So
right. I mean, we all know, I think most of us know, there were a bunch of decrepit apartments in there that needed to be taken away. And I didn't appreciate there were 2 different underlying zonings, the HR3 and the OCR2. OCR would allow the hotel, but I mean, the hotel's not coming right now. So I think what you're saying, and I think, Mike, what you said is that long term, you want to be able to revisit, or you want someone to be able to revisit a different use for this lot or these parcels. But in the short run, you want to merge the 5 parcels into one, I think. And
That's correct. Yeah.
and OCR is the zoning you want, which everything I just said has nothing to do with historic. And you're asking, from a historic point of view for doing surface parking, how does this stuff look? Because if anybody ever comes back and say they want to build a hotel there or whatever, that's a whole different thing. And as long as it's in the HPZ, we have to go look at it again. But for the short term, we're just talking about, is this surface parking proposal compatible with what the HPZ thinks is compatible with the neighborhood, the neighborhood.
Mm.
And I can share a little bit about the process that would need to occur. And Dan, feel free to join in. So because this is in an HPZ and those contributing buildings had been demolished, there was that replacement plan that was created. And per the UDC Unified Development Code, the process to approve that replacement plan, which was the Euclid Hotel, goes to mayor and council. So this proposal for the parking lot would essentially be an update to that replacement plan or changing the replacement plan, which requires mayor and council approval. So it would have to go, through the regular historic review, so WUZAB and then PRS. It would also then have to go through the rezoning process. So it would have to go to the zoning, what is the term? Examiner, thank you.
Yep.
And so it would have to go through that process, which is also a public process. And then it would go eventually to mayor and council. So while I think conceptually the idea being that it's a temporary use, so to speak, it really would be changing the replacement plan to parking. So just wanted to provide that kind of background on the process.
And again, I think for our benefit for this meeting, all of what Desiree just said isn't part of WUZAB's charter, right? I mean, it's really, given that they're going to go through everything Desiree just said, are we okay with the approach they're going to take for this from an HPZ point of view?
Was the genesis of the replacement plan from PRS and WUZAB?
Yeah. So the replacement plan was approved some number of years ago for the hotel.
We had to rescind that fully to submit this new replacement plan. So that doesn't.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it was, and for those of you that are familiar, this was going to be a boutique hotel, and there was a whole process that went through, which included WUZAB and the PRS and everything else, and it all got approved, and that's no longer happening. And I think that's pre-COVID.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's fallen by the wayside. So now Mike is coming and saying, well, got to do something with that piece of dirt in the meantime until somebody figures out something else to do with it. So this is what they're proposing. And everything that they're proposing requires going back to the zoning examiner and redoing all the replacement plan stuff. And the city's going to have to approve the egress and exit to Euclid and the merging of all the lots into one thing and changing HR3s to OCRs and all that. But from our point of view, given that they go through all that stuff, which will involve the neighborhood association, WUNA, not WUZAB, do we want to give any counsel to Mike on the design from a compatibility with the historic neighborhood. So it's facing, all the historic homes on the west side of Euclid. Do we have any thoughts as to, the design of what you propose? And it's mostly landscape, I guess, from our point of view.
Mostly. Oh. Well, I mean, I don't think we have any, I don't think we have any contributing properties that are parking lots in the district.
No. Yeah, we do not, obviously,
No,
right? And
so
this is
I'm
not
so-
contributing.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, boy, historic parking lots are, I mean, I don't have a basis to offer.
So the
any
only
perspective
basis
in
that
this.
I would throw out, Jim, maybe for us to kind of wrap our head around it a little bit, is the conversations that we had a year ago with respect to the dog parks for for Anza. Right? So it's like, well, are we happy with the fencing they proposed, which we were not? Are we happy with the proposals they made for the bathrooms, which we were not?
Right.
So that's the kind of thing I think we're talking about here. Does that make sense?
Yep. So, I mean, again, I think Mike's observation that, the screening and I think would be best served from a historic perspective to be vegetation.
Yeah.
If there was the need, and if anyone feels that there's the need for any vertical physical elements, I mean, all I would suggest is see if we can put some thing up that has the appearance of our historic basalt rock. But again, that's folks kind of frown on having things look like things if they aren't real things. And I certainly don't want to ask the historic basalt rock features be
Yeah, and the
there.
the basalt rock is an example. If you go to the north of this property where you get into Geronimo, I mean, there's no basalt there.
Yeah.
So
Again, I mean, I'm just trying to pull something out of the air. So,
yeah, I'm with you.
and so I'm leaning towards what Mike suggested, and
Yeah.
from again a courtesy review perspective, his suggestion for the vegetation that would provide a kind of a hedge screening perspective from a visual view is probably the way to go, and I can certainly support that. Should it come to us formally.
Okay.
And the arrangement, I mean, we're proposing leaving the existing sidewalk, and so that way the strong buffer is actually between the parking lot and the pedestrian area, and then the sidewalk maintains its alignment to the Geronimo. Because the Geronimo, as you know, has the covered sidewalk on a portion of it right up to the street. And then to the south is the student, I think it's the master student dorms.
Mhm.
It's the same
Yeah.
thing. The sidewalk sits right by the street, then the landscaping. So we're trying to stay as consistent as to what was there. And again, then with the hedging, I don't know if there's got to be, if it's too tall, it makes it unsafe inside the parking area. If it's too short, you know what I mean, or too short. And I know there's hedges that are controllable on heights as well, and of course the maintenance can be done on it as well.
Right. I don't know that you necessarily need the hedging on the east side, because you're just butting up against the Tyndall parking garage, aren't you?
Yeah, but I mean, we could turn the corner though, because that
Okay.
corner is visible. Maybe it goes like 40 feet down that corner or something like that.
All right.
And I'm just,
I would also suggest, you're talking about safety point of view, maybe it's in your plan, I can't read it, but you know how at various places around the university, they've got little poles with the blue light on them with the emergency phone to
Oh, yeah.
contact. I would add that to your part. I think all parking lots should have that.
That's a great idea. And we did more, we have the ability to do more than what's required as far as the EV parking too. Um, I believe Tyndall does, the Tyndall garage does have some in there.
I wouldn't do more than what you're required to do, to be honest with you. I don't know how much that gets used.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Um, so that feedback is helpful as well. Maybe what we do is just run the call. We just have it ready for it.
Yeah. Again, none of these comments, by the way, are historic. I think the things that we care about are, you know, let's get a visual buffer and a sound buffer to the neighborhood, keep the sidewalk pedestrian access the way it is, which is what you're planning on doing. I'll defer to the city on the ingress and egress from Euclid. That just strikes me as a traffic headache, but if that's what the city wants, the city's job is to figure that out. Yeah. And I think it's better to do what you're proposing than what we have right now, which is a dirt lot with a crappy chain link fence around it.
Yeah, we would agree as well. And the idea is, the streetscape kind of being the most important thing. And so, based off the feedback I received today, I've got an architect at Bay that's got developing the site plan, and also
Mhm.
he'll be able to develop some 3D renderings of this and give some better perspectives
Yeah.
of, so it's a bit more realistic. And so, I mean, those visuals, I think, would be quite helpful to understand, how it could look, especially versus how it looks right now. So,
Yeah.
so it would be an improvement.
For what it's worth, it was uglier when the apartments were there.
Yeah.
And it's safer than when the apartments were there. But
Yeah, I got called quite a bit from the city, and also, um, I know Jane's not there anymore, but from the assistant there constantly with calls. And it was a very unsafe environment.
so yeah, I mean, I think making the streetscape look friendlier and more compatible with, the other side of the street is all I think we can say from a historic point of view that we'd like to see do. And then we'll, traffic management, I'll defer to the city on. I do worry a little bit about that hard right turn that's right in front of you there to go into the lot from Euclid. It's just Euclid is becoming more and more. But you can talk to the city about that. I mean, as you well know, we had pedestrians killed not more than 2 blocks, not even 2 blocks from that entrance. People just drive very fast on Euclid and don't pay attention, especially at night.
Yeah.
And it's so brutal. Yeah.
Okay, there's somebody who's got a microphone on that maybe should mute, but I don't know. Lou, Greg, any other thought? You guys have been kind of quiet. Comments?
Well, looking at this, yeah, it's going to be an improvement if it's a parking lot over a dirt lot. Based on Desiree's feedback, though, there's not much for us to do at this time because you could do a cursory review today, but it's going to come back to us anyways as a full-on review, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
it will. I just wanted to make sure they didn't spend a lot of time doing something that when we saw a more detailed project, we said, well, wait a minute, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Right.
Yeah, I can't think of anything to add. Given the street view, looking at it from across the street from our neighborhood, yep, anything would be helpful. And
Yeah.
if we're looking at something that's, temporary, like 5 years or so, if they're going to build out a lot after that, then I guess it's less critical that we have, like you said, like basalt walls and, things that are connected to our neighborhood. I just don't see any need for that.
Right.
So
Okay.
simple approval from my standpoint. It's like, yeah, let's go.
Now, you're not allowed to use the word approval. It's a
Yep.
courtesy review, but
Yeah,
I
courtesy.
get what you're saying. Jim,
Yes.
you're
Okay.
raising your hand.
Yeah, I found I guess I do have perhaps a historic perspective that I can throw in here for what it's worth. Generally speaking, we do not like to have access from the fronts of properties. So I would encourage closure of all driveways between the alley and 4th Street, just as we like to have, the front of our residential properties not have driveways into the properties. We tend to like to have access in the back. So from a historic perspective, I would like to encourage that, which, we might want to pass on to the traffic engineers to perhaps understand that. So even though they may cringe a little bit about having 4th Street and or the University's alley having to accept some of the ingress or egress of this lot, that's my historic view of curb cuts. And I did note that the alley to the north is owned by the Regents. I would imagine it's still got a public access.
Oh, the alley's not? Oh, it might not be. That's a good point.
No, that it's got a public easement to it and they should be able to access it. The fact that it's owned by the Regents doesn't mean you can't use it for ingress and egress. So, at least that's the perspective I would take. I just happen to, like to butt heads with the Regents now.
Hey, Jim, I couldn't agree with you more. In our first designs, we're using that alley, and then going back and forth with the city. It's not possible because we're historic. If historic property can't use an alley, and it is the alley and 4th Street are both owned by Department
Regents.
of Regents. Sorry, I was at the
Yeah.
Department of Revenue paying my
No,
TPT
it's the
tax
Regents.
earlier today. So
You may want to look at the underlay, some of the entitlements associated with that. I would imagine that there is public access.
Yeah,
I can't-
I would.
Even if they hold it in title, I can't believe that the city.
No, the city will not allow me to use it because if I was a non-contributor or non-historical property, I could use it. But once it goes into the historical, I can't use it. And I've gone round and round on this subject, and I can't use the alley.
Encourage folks to access the alleys around their properties as opposed to the front, for example, the Euclid frontage. So I don't know who's necessarily throwing that perspective at you, and I happen to not agree with it, and I'd like to call them to have them come to the meeting and explain themselves.
Yeah, I can send the emails on it too that I have.
Yeah.
I have it all in writing.
Yeah, Mike, do you
Right.
mind sharing that with us as well? Because that sounds
Sure.
like something
And
that
if it's Ryan
doesn't seem
Fagan,
right.
then I know
Yeah.
what's there.
So all of us, I would much rather, and this is not a WUZAB thing, I guess, but you've got an alley to the north and you've got an access to the garage to the south. And adding another one is just asking for trouble. And I don't understand. Everything you're saying doesn't make sense to me. We have a lot of ingress and egress. Those alleys are not. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
really good if you send that correspondence. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I'm gonna say the closure of the driveway on Euclid is a WUZAB issue. I think it's an appropriate historic a goal to pursue because we generally don't have highways on the frontage.
Oh, okay. So fair enough, Jim. I understand what you're saying. I think, Mike, what you're hearing from all of us is the information you've been told isn't consistent with my and Jim's and others' understanding, and maybe if Dan or Desiree could help a little bit. There may just be a little bit of semantics issues, perhaps, hopefully. But
Yeah, I mean, I fought the same fight that you guys are saying too on using that alley, and I lost and I lost and I kept losing. And that's going through the UDC, and then there's the fine print of the UDC. And I don't mind. I'll share with you
Yeah,
all the information in email. But if we were, because I'm like they're doing it on that alley, but like those restaurants and bars, just I guess to the east of us, but they're not historic. So they're not
Yeah.
they're not in the
Mike, we
winner.
can we'll follow up because that I mean we're in that same department, right? That's telling you that. So my guess is that maybe it's something different because in historic districts we do actually encourage, as member Glock mentioned, side access, and other projects that are happening right now are the access is on the side, not on the main street. So so we can look into that further.
Okay.
right. And Mike, Geronimo and all that stuff is in our HPZ. It is part of the HPZ. It is historic.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I thought most of it was, but even oh yeah, the whole street is, isn't it?
The whole street is, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how they could, because we designed it to use the alley and I got shut down on it quick.
Well,
and
they
so-
may just not want you to do it, but I'm not sure it's true.
Okay.
So if you would take advantage of what Dan's offering, what Desiree is offering, and get a little bit of help, because as Desiree said, that us is we are them. So maybe we can help you a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
I wanted to just kind of make sure that there was something that was clearly understood. So while the nature of the parking lot might be reversible, there aren't any temporary uses. Like the city doesn't
No.
approve any temporary uses. So I heard the word temporary mentioned a few times. So I just want to be clear. Once this is zoned and parking is allowed, I mean, it's really up to it's not, there's not a guarantee that it's like that it would be temporary. So just want to make sure that was understood.
It's understood. I do appreciate you saying that though, but I did research that too. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Jim, Lou, and Greg, any other comments, questions from the board?
Not from a WUZAP perspective.
From a WUZAP perspective, thank you.
I just want to note that, Mike, if it is going through rezoning, then the neighborhood, the West University Neighborhood Association, which is a total different beast, would probably weigh in and support what we're discussing now with respect.
Yeah.
Speaking as a board member of the.
okay.
All right. Okay, hearing no further discussion, I would like to move on the agenda. So Mike, thank you very much for doing this, and good luck. I know we're gonna have to see you again, but maybe you got some good comments that you can use to help you a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate your time and I definitely appreciate the feedback.
Okay, cool. All right, let's just kind of click through the agenda here. This is sort of a special agenda. Call to the board. I don't think, Desiree, unless you have anything you want to bring up from staff updates or calls to the board.
I have one thing for staff updates. So we are, the UDC requires an annual training for advisory board members, and we are looking at scheduling something for February 28th. So mark your calendars. That's something that I don't think we did last year.
No,
But
you did not.
we're bringing it back. So we would like to encourage members to attend that, and it will be hybrid. So we'll have both in person and virtual options.
In fact, we haven't done that for years. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. Okay, thank
Can
you.
you
for
send
February.
a hold the date
Yes,
out
I
of
will.
that? Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. And that's it for staff updates. So with that, item 7 on the agenda at 6:53 p.m., we are adjourned. Thank you all for your evening.
Thank
Have
you,
a
Rick.
good
Thank you.
All right, thanks all.
Bye bye.